Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. Today is technically Saturday. It's like Friday night, Saturday. Um, I will tell you guys, I slept all day today. I've been working the past few days, and I am exhausted. Or I was exhausted before I slept for like 12 hours today. I even skipped locals. I was so tired. So yeah, since I missed a couple of days of videos, I'm gonna give you guys the videos like all in one go. We're gonna finish up G-BT13 today and enter GEBO2. So with that being said, let's get started with today's deck profile. We're going to be talking about the Gaia deck today. So this is our Tachikaze, our dinosaurs, our Chomp Chomp, T-Rex, Bronchiosaurus things, whatever you would like to call it. We're flipping up our G-Zone here as usual, and then we're going to go right into the main deck here. So, again, we run 7 grade 3s as most of the builds in G-BT13. Excuse me. We have 3 different skills that Gaia Emperor has. This is the original Gaia. Unlike other Stride decks where you get like newer versions that are better, Gaia never really got a version that was better per se. So we kind of just like still opt to ride the old Gaia Emperor Dragon because it allows you to pull off a lot more combos and allows you to work to Tachikaze's greatest strengths. So its first skill is Vanguard or Rearguard Circle Engorge. Engorge is the keyword for Tachikaze. That's kind of like you can imagine it as dinosaurs eating each other to get bigger and get more powerful. So Engorge is when a unit attacks, you can retire one or more of your other rear guards, and then if you do, that unit goes into Engorge state for the rest of the turn. So the reason for Engorge is usually a unit that has the Engorge ability also has an ability that happens when that unit is engorged. Most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just has Engorge just so that you can kill some of your units and get the effects. So they either have effects that happen when they're engorged, or they either have effects when they die, something happens. So yeah, like we said, the first Gaia Emperor has the Engorge ability. The second ability is a continuous GB2 ability that says if this unit is engorged, it gets plus 5,000 power and a critical. So for some reason, if you happen to stay on this card, you can't stride. You can attack with this card, engorge it by retiring a rear guard, and then it gets plus 5,000 and a critical. So with a booster that's like 21 to 23k range usually, with a crit. So if you're in the really late game and you can't stride and your opponent like you just need a little bit of a oomph to kill your opponent, like this is what you're looking for. As long as they have like 4 cards or something in hand at the beginning of your battle phase, and you have like a full board. Then it's on stride ability, which is the reason why we choose to ride it the most, is during your turn when your G unit strides, you can counterblast 1 card. If you do, you choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them to rearguard circle, so you can optionally call cards to the board, and then you choose up to 2 of your rearguards until the end of the turn. They get an auto ability. That auto ability being during your turn when this unit is put into the drop zone from rearguard circle, call this unit to the rearguard circle. So it allows you to give a skill to your rearguards that says when they die, you just bring them back to life. So since Tachikaze is all about killing your own units to get powerful and activate Engorge state cards, it is useful when you get to kill cards and just bring them back for free. So pretty awesome. Moving into our secondary grade 3 / our rearguard grade 3. We never really want to ride this card if we have the option of riding the other grade 3, but this is our newer Gaia grade 3. It is Frenzy Emperor Dragon Gaia Death Parade. That's a mouthful. It has 3 abilities as well. The first one is Vanguard Rearguard Engorge skill. The second one is Vanguard Rearguard Generation Break 2. If this unit is engorged, it gets plus 5,000 power. Very similar to Gaia when it is original Gaia when it's engorged. And then if this unit is a Vanguard, this unit gets plus 1 critical. So this unit, when it's on Vanguard Circle, its GB2 is literally the exact same as Gaia Emperor. However, it actually, when it's a rearguard on the rearguard circle, it gets 5,000 as well. Original Gaia does not do that. So that is like the key difference between those 2 skills for those. And then the stride skill is during your turn when your G unit strides, choose one of your vanguards with the engorge ability. So it has to have the engorge ability, which means you can't use it on like Sabreeze, anything like that. And then until the end of the turn, this unit gets one skill that says when this unit becomes engorged, counterblast 1, draw a card. So obviously not as good as counterblast 1, give 2 units the ability to resurrect themselves, but still useful in some situations. Going into our grade 2s, we have a 4-3-3-2 lineup. Starting off with our 4 of, let's talk about Heavy Bullet Dragon Diablo Cannon. This is one of our new cards from this set. It is a Gaia specific card that has 3 abilities as well. First ability being Engorged, second ability being a continuous rearguard skill. It says if you have a Vanguard with Gaia in its name, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. So that is on your opponent's turn and your turn, which can be pretty useful because you have 11k, you have like an 11k body on the rearguard circle. When your opponent can't attack into your Vanguard with their rearguard, they're just going to have to pass turn because your Diablo cannons will be too big to hit as well. Then its third ability is when this engorged unit is retired from rearguard for the effect or cost of your Vanguard with the engorge ability, you can discard a card, bring this card back to the rearguard circle, resurrect it, and it gets plus 5,000 power. So something kind of complicated with this card that people don't quite understand is that you can't just kill it and then activate the skill and bring it back. When you kill it, it has 2 conditions that you have to fulfill first. Number 1, Diablo Cannon himself or itself has to be engorged, which means that you have to have attacked with Diablo Cannon first and retired something else to engorge Diablo Cannon himself, or used Dimwar Glide to make multiple units on your field engorged state, and one of those units that's engorged has to be Diablo Cannon. Then Diablo Cannon has to be retired by your Vanguard's ability with the engorge skill. So you cannot go attack with Diablo Cannon, retire grade 1, then attack with a rearguard, retire grade 2, and then attack with Diablo Cannon and resurrect it. That's just not a combo. That's not a thing that you can actually do, and that would not be the correct play to go for. Then we have a 3 of in our grade 2 lineup, which is Baking Flame Dragon Gigant Flame. This is one of our 11k bodies in the deck. It's pretty useful writing on grade 2 because it makes your opponent kind of think twice about how they want to go after you offensively. Gives you a great defensive option and also gives you a pretty huge attacker. It has 3 abilities as well. The first one is Engorge, so it is one of our Engorge cards. The second one is if you don't have another Engorge unit or a Vanguard with Gaia in its name, this unit cannot attack a Vanguard. So what this means is that you want to have another unit on the board. If you do ride this card for grade 2, you want to make sure that A, your opponent either has a rearguard that you can attack into, or B, you have a card that you play that can become Engorge state. Because you will need to engorge before you attack with this card, or this card can't attack and you're wasting a attack, and you're also not getting a drive check for riding it. So you never want to put yourself in that situation. If you do have to put yourself in that situation for some chance, I would just say don't ride this card if you don't want to do the early attack combo. Then it's Generation Break 1 ability. The third ability is when it's on the rearguard circle in your Generation Break 1, this unit gets plus 5,000 power for each of your other engorge units. So this card combos really well with Dimwar Glide, who when you retire it due to the effect of a card, with the Gorge ability, you can just make a bunch of cards engorge. So then Gigant Flame will just become super big, and with us running stand triggers in this deck, that really helps a lot. Then we have 3 Photon Wave Dragon Cosmolux. Cosmolux has 2 abilities as well. First ability being when this unit is placed on the Vanguard or rearguard circle, choose up to 1 card from your hand and reveal it. If you choose to reveal a card, and if that card or your Vanguard is not Gaia, then this unit gets minus 5,000 power. So in the early game, like, you pretty much ride this card, you reveal one of your grade 3s, and you will get to keep your 10k base. If not, then you will lose 5,000 until the end of the turn. However, it is still the best option to ride, in my opinion, because your starter will still be there to boost it. So it'll still be attacking for 10, because it'll be 5 plus 5 is 10. And then at the end of that turn, your base will pump back up to 10k, which still makes an ideal ride defensively. Then its second ability is Continuous Rearguard Skill. If you have a grade 4 Vanguard with Gaia in its name, this unit gets plus 3,000 power for each face-up card in your G-Zone with the Engorge ability. So basically, first stride, usually you go into Gaia Devastate. Gaia Devastate flips itself, and then by the time you go into the second Gaia Devastate, you're going to have 2 face-up. It's going to be plus 6,000, 16k by itself. And then during the turn, when it flips another Gaia Devastate, you're going to be 19k. So the numbers get really big in this deck really easily, and you should just keep track of how many face-up Engorge units you have in the G-Zone so that you know what cards are best to play out at what time. If you have a lot more Engorge units on the board, you want to play your Gigant Flames. If you have kind of later into the game, you want to play your Cosmo Lux. And Diablo Ken is just good all around. And then our last grade 2, which is Beam Dragon Apatomazer. You run 2 of this card. This is an old Tachi card, and by old, I still mean new in the G-Break era, but it is from an older set. It does have 2 abilities as well. The first one is the Engorge ability. The second one is when it's placed on the Rearguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Gaia in its name, you can Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and then this unit gets plus 2,000 power and an ability that says when this unit becomes Engorged, you draw a card, and this card gets plus 5,000 power. So Apatomazer is one of those cards where it just makes it completely alright for you to retire the booster that's actually boosting this card, and then you will still be attacking for the same like guard for your opponent. So if you attack with this card boosted by 7k and it's 18k, then you choose to retire your grade 1, so you'll lose the 7k, you'll become 11 again, and then the skill of Apatomazer will kick in, you'll draw a card, you'll get plus 5,000, it'll be 16. So 16, 18, same column, unless you are fighting like Gallop or something that has a 13k base, then it is not the same column. Moving on to our grade 1s, we have 4 Prism Bird. This is our Gaia Stride Fodder. Pretty self-explanatory. We want to get the right guy at all times, and we also want to stride at all times, just using as minimal cost as we can, which would be 1 card in this deck. Then we have 4 Savage Guardian as our PGs. Savage Guardian works as our PG that can only PG Vanguard, so be aware of that. But it also lets you countercharge 1 if you PG and you have another one in your drop zone already. So pretty good. This deck can also be kind of counterblast heavy at times, so I would keep an eye on that. That's why we run Savage Guardian and the card that I'm about to discuss, Raven Patera. So we run 3 Blackwing Dragon Raven Patera. This card has 2 abilities as well. First skill is Engorge, and the second skill is when this unit is retired from the Rearguard Circle for the effect or cost of the Vanguard with the Engorge ability, you can Soul Blast 1, call this card to Rearguard Circle, and if the number of face-up cards in your damage zone is 1 or less, then you get to countercharge. So obviously you want to build Soul with this deck. It's really important to use the skill of this to get your counter charges off. If you are able to call 2, or if you're able to retire 2 off the skill that are on the board, you can call both of them back. Hopefully you can call the units that are in front of them back if you use Gaia skill on it, and then they come back, and if you have 4 flip counterblast face down, let's just say, for example, you get to unflip 2. So that's pretty baller, in my opinion. Then we have 3 Gliding Dragon Demorglide. Demorglide is our Engorge enabler, I like to call him. He has 2 abilities. The first one is Engorge, Vanguard, Rearguard Circle. The second one is when this unit is retired from the Rearguard Circle due to the effect of any Engorge ability, then you can Soul Blast 1, put it on the bottom of your deck, and then you choose any number of your units that have the Engorge ability, and they can just become Engorged without retiring cards. So that becomes super useful when you're using with like Gaia Devastate and stuff like that. You can get units off the board early before your opponent gets to intercept and kill their own cards. You can attack, Engorge with Demorglide, and then Demorglide can Engorge Gaia Devastate, and then Gaia Devastate can kill cards instantly and draw you your cards and get it plus 10,000 to critical. Then we have, for our starter, we have 1 Child Dragon Little Tyranno. So obviously this is kind of like a mini flashback to Ancient Tyranno. If you guys remember that card in Limit Break era, looks like a literal baby version of it. But its effect is pretty good. It has 2 abilities. First one is Forerunner, which means it can move back when ridden upon, like most starters in the game. You guys know that already. And then the second ability is Generation Break 1. When this unit is retired from the Rearguard for the effect or cost of your Vanguard with the Engorge ability, You may counterboss one, put this card into the soul. If you do, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, call 2 cards with different names to separate rearguard circles, and then put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this card actually allows you to get multi-attacks, but it's very important to kind of gauge and look at your cards and understand which cards activate from a Vanguard retiring them. Things like Little Tyranno or Raven Patera, or even Diablo Cannon, but things like Demorglide don't need a Vanguard to retire them to use the skill. So I would pay very close attention to that. But it also helps you string along combos, gets you some extra attacks, gets you all up in your opponent's face from first stride onwards, and helps you keep really good pressure on your board state. Then for our triggers, we run 8 crit, 4 stand, and 4 heal. Talking about our crits of the deck, we have 4 Ancient Dragon Dino Dial. This card just shoves itself into the soul when it's on rearguard circle at your choosing during the main phase, and then you can unflip a damage. Then we have 4 Cannon Fire Dragon Paris Launcher. Paris Launcher is our Gaia specific crit trigger that came in the G-Break era, that shoves itself into soul when your Vanguard attacks. It gives your Vanguard 5k, and then you draw a card. Also builds your soul, which can be pretty good for this specific deck because you can run out of soul quite easily. Then for our stand trigger, we run 4 Sheer Magnum. Sheer Magnum's ability is during your turn when this unit is put into the drop zone from rearguard circle, you can put this unit on the bottom of your deck, draw a card, choose one of your units, and that unit gets plus 5,000 until the end of the turn. So this, in combination with Apatomazer, becomes really, really good because Apatomazer can retire it. You can draw a card for Apatomazer, use Sheer Magnum, draw a card for Sheer Magnum, put Sheer Magnum back, thinning your deck, putting a stand trigger back, drawing you 2 cards, and it makes Apatomazer 21k. So, and it increases the chance that you're going to check a stand trigger to stand that Apatomazer back up and have it be 26k. So very, very good. Then we have 4 Converse Ornith, something like that. This is our newest heals that we are getting, that are our binding heals, which allows you to, when you G-Guard with this card, if you have a heal in your drop zone already, you can bind both of the heals, this one and that one that you already had, and then you can choose to countercharge one or soul charge one. Moving straight into our G-Zone, we have our Zero Dragon that came out of this set. Obviously, we run it as a one-of, just because when we're done with it, we lose our whole G-Zone. So it's kind of like a do-it-or-die type thing when you're playing in G-decks especially. So definitely Zero Dragon of Inferno Drachma. We have gone over it already in this set, but I will explain it again. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard circle, you counterblast 2. If you do, you retire all of your opponent's units, including their Vanguard. Then you bind them face up, and your opponent chooses 3 cards from his or her hand, discards 2, and rides 1. So I really like using this card when I know that my opponent doesn't have any grade 3s left in their hand, and I will force them to ride a grade 2 or lower, because that not only means that they can't G-Guard and they can't really make an offensive play on me that turn, or the next turn after that, but it also means that how many turns are they going to have to take to ride up to grade 3 and get stable again. And most of the time, they just can't stably recover from this card when they have to ride down from grade 3. So it is a great choice to go into when you know your opponent doesn't have the grade 3s. Then we have 4 of our new card from G-BT13, New Destruction Emperor Gaia Devastate. So what Gaia Devastate does is it has 2 abilities. First one is Engorge on Vanguard Circle. The second one is when it becomes Engorged, you can counterboss 1 and flip a Gaia Devastate face up in your G-Zone. If you do, you draw a card, and then you choose any 2 circles other than Vanguard Circle for each face-up card in your G-Zone and put all those cards into the drop zone. And then if 3 or more of your cards were put into the drop zone, then this unit gets plus 10,000 and a critical and a drive. So very important to notice that this card is a offensive pressure card, but can also wipe your opponent's board when given the opportunity, and it can just be really, really good. You can either choose to go for this card for first stride, or you can go into like Gaia Dynast. Those are pretty much your only 2 first strides in the deck. And then depending on which one you go into, you're not able to get the full capacity of both cards by going into first stride, either one of them. So you just kind of like choose the situation and you go into it. Usually I go into Gaia Devastate for first stride, but that's just me. Then we have 2 Great Emperor Dragon Gaia Dynast. Gaia Dynast has 3 abilities as well. The first one is Engorge on Vanguard Circle. The second one is a Generation Break 3 ability that says when this unit retires one of your rear guards, you can counterblast 1 to call it back, and that unit and this unit get plus 3,000. So it pumps your Vanguard, pumps your rear guard that you resurrect. Also lets you resurrect rear guards for free every time that this card kills it. So when you kill a column with this card, and then you kill 1 card from the Engorge with this card, then you're able to just bring back all 3 of those units by counterblasting 3. And then the third skill also refunds you a counterblast. So the third skill is when this unit becomes Engorged, you can pay the cost to flip the Gaia Dynast. If you do, you choose one of your rear guards, you retire all the rear guards in the same column as that unit, so you get to wipe your opponent's board a little too, and then you get to countercharge 1 as well. So it's pretty good. Then we run what is still the best restander in the game, in my opinion. Absolute King Gluttony Dogma, and boy is he the Absolute King. He has 2 abilities, technically split up. The first one is Engorge on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. I don't know why that's a thing, honestly, because you're not really ever going to have Gluttony Dogma on the Rearguard Circle, so I don't know why they really did that. That's kind of weird. But then the next ability is Vanguard Circle Generation Break 2. When this unit becomes Engorged, if you retire 3 or more units due to the effect of this unit's Engorge ability, you can flip a Gluttony Dogma face up. If you do, this unit gets plus 10,000 power, and a skill that says at the end of the battle that this unit attack, if you retired 5 or more units during the turn, due to the effect of this unit's Engorge ability, you stand this card and it gets drive -1 until the end of the turn. So this card not only gets triple drive, then restands, and then gets twin drive, which makes it 5 drive checks. But it also, if you're using it in combination with Gaia Emperor, you are also able to bring back some of your cards. Like if you have like Gaia Emperor on your 2 front rows and then 2 Raven Patera, you can just use the skill to bring back practically your whole board and restart your attack turn again. So that would be like 8 attacks, not including, or 6 attacks, not including stand triggers. Then we have 1 GB8, which is Destruction Tyrant Volcanon Tyranno. It has 2 abilities, Vanguard and Gorge for the first one. Second one is this Generation Break 8 on the Vanguard Circle. Because when your rearguard is retired, choose up to one of your opponent's rearguards, retire one of their units, and then you choose one of your rearguards, and until the end of the turn, your Vanguard and the rearguard gets plus 10,000 power. So this card is okay, not as good as a finisher as Gluttony Dogma. You'll probably never go into it. You'll probably go into, honestly, Drachma before you go into this, unless you just don't have the same stride cost to discard for Drachma, and then you go into Volcanine Tyranno in the really late game. But either way, I still think that you have better options, but we just run it as just in case type of card. Then we run 1 Sabreeze NRG Zone. You guys know what that does. When your opponent tries to play the grade lock game against you, you go into this and you mess their day up. Then you have 5 G Guardians. We have 2 Barrage Gigantic Cannon Boorish Premier. So what Boorish Premier does is when it's placed on the Guardian Circle, you can flip a G Guard face up. If you do, this unit gets plus 5,000 for each of your open rear guard circles until the end of the battle. So being Tachikaze, being the clan that you play, you will have a lot of open rear guard circles most of the time because you will be retiring your own units. If especially if your opponent's playing against control, you will have like none. So this is really good against control and really good in general just because of the deck that it got placed in. Then we have 2 Absolute Authority Giant Wall Blockade Genga. Blockade Genga, what it does is when it's placed on the Guardian Circle, you can choose one of your rear guards and retire it. If you do, this unit gets plus 10,000, and then you choose up to 2 of your rear guards, and they get the ability that says when this unit is retired, return this card to your hand. So you can play Blockade Genga, retire a card, and then you can put the skill on both of your grade 2s in the front row, double intercept with them during the same attack to make it a 46k block, and then at the end of that battle, those 2 grade 2s will bounce to your hand so that your opponent, number 1, can't touch them, and number 2, you will just have them for the next turn as well. Then we have 1 Iron Armor Canceller Demorph Phalanx. So what Phalanx does is guard circle. If the number of your rear guards is less than or equal to your opponent's rear guards, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield. So it becomes a 31k by itself. Pretty solid, honestly. Nothing more to say about that. So starting up our games here, we're going to open up our Cardfight area here, and then we're going to load our Gaia game 1. So we're playing against Liberators for the first game. He rides, I ride, and then I check. He checks, stand trigger. He rides and calls Aglaball, uses the skill of his crit trigger. Check top 4 for a bluish flame card. He doesn't get it. Then we get attacked for 9. We take it, and then he attacks with Vanguard. We no guard as well because we don't really have a guarding hand. So yeah, we no guard. Then we ride and we call 2 grade 2s. We reveal a Gaia so that Cosmolux doesn't lose its power. Then we attack rearguard so that we don't have to engorge. And then we attack Vanguard with a crit on our rearguard. Then he rides a bluish flame card, calls the newer Aglaball to the rearguard circle, and then attacks a Vanguard. He checks a heal, and then we check a third Dino Dial. Dino Dial just loves the damage zone, apparently. We don't get to ride our new Gaia this game, which is pretty unfortunate, actually. And I think I also misplayed some of this game because this is the first game that I was playing this build. But I do use Demor Glide, and I realized that our opponent tried to intercept, but he didn't hold on to wait to see what we were going to do, because we basically were going to use Gaia Devastate skill, which is what I was saying, and we're going to retire his Interceptor and his Coel before he gets to intercept. So if he wants to guard it, he'll have to give us a different card from his hand, which is really, really good. So we attack, and we got another card out of his hand, and not only that, but Diablo Cannon is engorged, and Cosmolux gains its power. So then we attack with Cosmolux, I believe. Yes, we attack with Cosmolux. He takes a damage and hits a heal trigger. Then we retire off of the engorge. We retire our starter, and we use Diablo Cannon to call it back by discarding a card. It gets plus 7k, and then we call 2 cards off of our starter's ability. He no guards. We check a Diablo Cannon, a Cosmolux, and a crit trigger, putting the crit to our Vanguard, power to rearguard. He takes 2 damage, 1 being a heal, and I was like, oh my god, this man and his heals, he gets him. But I also forgot to activate the on-stride ability to kind of also go and draw a card, which really would have helped get some additional presence in our hand. But he does Legion because he can't stride, basically, or he would prefer not to stride, whichever one of those that was. He goes into Prominence Glare. I was kind of praying that he didn't have the same, bluish flame card in his hand, so that he could use the skill of Glare, because if he did, I would be at his mercy of no guarding and hoping that he doesn't check a crit. He does call a Garmore, however, and the last card in his hand is a heal. So he just attacks in our Vanguard. We no guard. We are going to take a stand trigger, puts on his rearguard, and a PG. So we take 1 damage. And then he attacks for 23 into our rearguard. We gladly take that. We top deck Stride Fodder, which is great. We're able to just play another Diablo Cannon to the field. So we attack with Cosmolux, who gains 6k, so it can attack for 23. He takes this one, and then we attack with Diablo Cannon, engorging and retiring the Prism Bird. And then we attack with Vanguard to engorge, retire, and then we use the skill to draw a card and retire 4 units. We're going to choose to keep our Cosmolux on the board. Then we use the skills, discard 1 to bring back Diablo Cannon, and skills of Raven Patera. So we check 3 cards, and none of them are triggers. And then our opponent has no hand. We attack him for 23, and that ends up being game 1 right there. Getting into our game 2 here, we are going to be opening back up our Cardfight area. Here we go. Yes, and there it is. All right, so starting our game 2, we're going to be going up to Gaia game 2. We're playing against the same Liberator deck. Our opponent goes first, but didn't have a grade 1, so they pass. But they are able to just draw into a grade 1, which is pretty good. So we ride the necessary card to do the combo, the attack combo with the 11k. He attacks Rearguard, then Vanguard. We eat the Vanguard attack. We attack with activating no engorge skills, and then he guards the Rearguard, takes the Vanguard. He goes into Excel. Excel calls 2. Catch Goal calls 1 more, which ends up being a Bruno, giving double power to his Brinius. He uses Coel to check top 3, call another Bruno. This Bruno gets power, and this Brinius gets power. Then he uses Gritter to call a Catch Goal. Catch Goal goes back, of course, and calls another one, while all of these Brunos and Brunius are getting power. So pretty good combo for first turn stride. I was actually pretty scared that I might die. So he no guards, he checks the stand trigger, and I was thinking that if he checked a crit here, it might be really difficult for me to survive, but he didn't, thankfully. So we're able to just stride. We use Gaia's stride skill to call 2 cards, and we give the resurrection skill to Apatomazer and Cannon. And then we attack, engorge the stand trigger, drawing a card, putting it back, and giving plus 5,000. So we attack for 21 to Vanguard. And then our opponent is thinking. So our opponent guards with 2 cards. We attack and engorge. Honestly, here, I think I should have attacked and engorged and killed the Apatomazer to bring it back. But I think I didn't do that because I would have had no soul to activate skill. So instead, I killed the Dimorglide and made Gaia Devastate, engorge. So he takes it, we activate engorge, killing our cards. And then this is actually kind of like a little brilliant combo that we pulled off. So we're able to bring back our cards, and then we check a stand trigger. So a lot of you would ask, you know, what would happen if you didn't check that stand trigger? It wouldn't have been as brilliant of a combo, but of course, like, that's how we built the deck, right? To sack. But we attack for 26. Our opponent G-guards, and then this time, since we got a stand trigger, we're able to attack with Diablo Cannon, whereas we forgot the first time around, and we are able to engorge a Apatomazer and use a Apatomazer skill to bring it back, counter blast 1, soul blast 1, and it gets 2k. And then when he takes the damage, thankfully it's not a trigger. We attack with a Apatomazer, get rid of that useless grade 2, and then we draw a card. So we do have no counter blast, but we do also have 2 PGs and 2 G guards in our hand, as well as a way to stride for next turn. So I'm just pretty sure that we're not dying. But our opponent does go into Garmor, call Aglavol, and call Prom Liberator. Call the Bruno from his hand and a Aglavol, looking at the top 3, to call a Stiletto Hawk. And then he uses Shining Fang Garmor skill to look at the top 6 cards. I think if I remember correctly, this is the point where my opponent DC'd and disconnected. I did still want to show this game just because I'm pretty sure I would have won this game. I have like 2 G guards in my hand, which I was going to use to double G guard through the turn to get one of my counter blasts back. And then next turn, I could have just either chose to go into my ultimate stride or our restander in this deck, the Glenny Dogma or Drachma. So that's what I was going to do. For those of you guys who are wondering, I could even be super wasteful and G or PG with a PG, and then PG Vanguard with PG countercharge 1, and then double G guard the last one, and use the skill to bind 2 and unflip 1 so that I have 2 counterblasts open to do the Drachma play. So just very good game all around. And then going into our game 3 here, our card fight area is loading up here. Really hate how long it takes area to load back up, and I'm sure I mentioned this in multiple videos, but to the creators of area, if you can hear me, you should really make it so that you can go back after a replay and access other replays, because that would be great, and not have to close out the entire program. But our opponent's running Yasui for the 3rd game. We attack, we hit a crit trigger because we're blessed, obviously. We're dinos, how could we not? Dino Thunder, Power Rangers Dino Thunder over here. So then we hit a stand trigger, we hit a heal trigger. We don't heal because, unfortunately, we crit our opponent, so we don't heal as punishment. Our opponent plays a grade 2 EQ, and then we choose to guard it, and then he shoves the card into Soul, plus 5,000 on his Vanguard, and then he checks the draw trigger, plus 5,000 more. We take it, and then we stand and draw, and we realize that we cannot stride, so we play double crit trigger to the board and try to attack for super big. He uses his G guard, Shishi Yuzuki, to put a no pass, and good thing he did, because we would have double triggered him and done the pass anyways. So then he strides into Yasui Gemma. He uses his stride skill to get a Yasui. He calls a Ubushi to the back row that he can attack from the back row with. Then he calls a Yashibiyashi, using the skill to Soul Blast 1 and activate its skill, giving it plus 2,000 power. It can attack from the back row, and it has a skill to countercharge Shadow Stitch and give something 2k. So then he uses Genma's skill to Soul Blast Flip. And then he's going to copy the Yasui grade 3 to call another Yasui grade 3. And then he attacks with Vanguard. I no guard. He hits a draw trigger. And the rest of his checks are nothing. We take a damage being Prism Bird. He shoves the starter into the Soul, draws this card, puts back a Shadow Stitch card. Then we guard the Yasui. We take the other card, and then we take the last card as well. At the end of his turn, he puts the Yasui called by Stride back in his hand, which that card is super good and super free. But we just use Gaia's Stride skill to give both of the Demos Resurrection. So attacks for 14. And then we attack with Gaia Devastate using the Engorge skill to kill 3 of our cards and then kill our starter as well. We use Gaia Devastate to retire 2 of his cards. We draw a card. Then we use Gaia's skill to resurrect 2 Demos, and then we use the starter skill to call 2 Gaias. So pretty good. Our opponent PGs, just in case our board looks super threatening. I assume he doesn't want to die. We check 3 cards that are not triggers anyways. Then we activate Demor Glide, use the skill to make both of our guys engorged already so that we don't have to retire for the second one around. And then we attack for 23, he guards 2 cards, and he ends his turn. He strides with the Yasui from his hand into Yasui Tenma. He has a Ikaku in his hand, which I didn't even know about the Ikaku Tenma combo. That's actually pretty cool. So yeah, so basically he has 16 attack from front row. He calls another Ikaku. He uses this Ikaku that came out, skilled the other one to put another Ikaku to the bottom, attack for 16 again. And then once I realized that, I couldn't guard all these 16s because it's going to be one 16k attack for each one of his counterblasts, and then his Vanguard's going to attack on top of that, so I wouldn't be able to guard that. So we do take the L in that game, but that is our 3rd game, so that does conclude our Gaia Future Fight. If you guys enjoyed the video, as always, be sure to like the video, let me know that you liked it. Really helps a lot more than you guys think. And be sure to check out our description down below for our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's also our Patreon and our merch store down there if you guys want to support the channel just little bit more than subscribing. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been video 1 of today out of 3 or 4 videos, something crazy like that. And yeah, without further ado, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace, guys.